and of I think the battery's probably going to be the next thing to go.
Oh no, it charges quite quickly. I'll give it that. Actually.
All right.
Yeah. I'll be here all night though.
So can we just revisit, just again briefly, when you started Rose
Okay.
Charity and the initial impetus for doing so?
All right. Well, I went to Cambodia in 1992. It was when a lot of people come back from the refugee camps. And I went with a colleague who had an association with a Japanese NGO, and we were given a certain area to bring people back and augment the health system there. It was a terrible area, actually. We didn't quite do our homework, so we were given one of the worst areas in terms of like danger. It was not very safe. In fact, it was quite interesting because we got the inside story from the local people there. I don't want to go too much of a tangent, it's rather slow, but it was amazing what the reality was in the forest there relative to what the United Nations knew. They had a completely delusional idea of what was around. We knew there were massive troops there, but no one would listen. It was like, I felt like it was a Karen Silkwood with the 3 Mile Island thing or whatever. So anyway, but that's beside the point. There were a huge number of everything, diseases, surgical needs, etc., etc. So after I left, I had the chance to come back and start an eye program, and that was because I had contacts with eye people in Nepal through other links I had, some with AMDA actually, who very kindly came over and gave their expertise to start this peripheral eye camp program. They're really experienced in Nepal with things like that. So myself and a French colleague, Swiss actually, started that program, and we called it Iris because of the sort of the eye thing, and it was just some name, and it worked very well. But then at the same time, there was an enormous landmine problem in Cambodia, and a number of very experienced groups had come in with prosthetics. But what the sort of a bit of a mistake was made, and they didn't realise that the medical and the health system was almost completely debilitated, and there was no way of preparing the stumps to put the artificial limbs on. So there was a need for sort of basic surgery there. So we thought we'd extend the eye surgery idea to other basic surgical techniques. That's one of them. So immediately started fulfilling a need. We prepare the stumps, and then the limbs would be put on by excellent organisations like VI, Cambodia Trust, etc., etc. And then at the same time we could do other rehabilitative procedures, which is called rehab surgery, and one of them was cleft lip and cleft palate. If you have a cleft lip or cleft palate in Cambodia, like many other countries, you're a bit alienated, certainly at the time, and your nutritional problems, you never got to school. So a very simple operation, even with just a lip, could make a huge difference in quality of life. So there's a whole number of things which is surgical procedures which affect quality of life, and that's really it. Smallish procedure, large quality of life thing. We weren't doing open heart surgery or anything like that. We didn't have the facilities for it. There are a lot of there are acid burn problems. It comes into this conflict injury thing. Primary conflict is the direct bullet wounds. Secondary is it's where the infrastructure has been wrecked because of war and conflict. And third is the sort of mindset of, well, let's solve a problem by throwing acid at somebody. Crazy as it sounds. And there isn't the infrastructure of the legal infrastructure or the of apprehending the people who do it. So it's quite a problem. Was quite a problem then. It still is quite a problem now. And you can do a certain amount. For example, if a limb has been fused down with acid, because effectively your skin becomes like plastic, melted plastic with an acid burn, and fused down, you could actually release some of these things. You could do skin grafts. So there's a number of procedures, and then there are a number of rather strange diseases in Cambodia that are strange in their kind of fine print. There's a thing called a meningoencephalosia, where the brain pouches out through the skull. So there's a whole gamut of things that can be assisted by rehab surgery. So we started a kind of division of Iris, and because of the sort of floral pun thing, we decided to call it Rose. And it had got an acronym then, rehabilitative or rehabilitation-oriented surgical empowerment or enablement. So, and Iris was International Resources for the Improvement of Sight. But it was just easy. We had the Iris division and the Rose division. That then split. The two organisations split. The eye people said, well, we'd sooner go on doing just the eyes, and Iris exists to this day. But I thought it would be better to carry on with the general surgery, Rose, which then actually started doing eyes as well. So you sort of had a split of the two organisations at that point. That's really how the organisation started there. And but I must say, just to add, in general terms, the network has many different founders. I mean, I look at it as roots in a bush, really. So, that was the sort of route, the kind of the taproot that started. And after that, people came in who had founded this and that and the other thing and the Sri Lanka project. So there's no, I very much negate the idea or reject the idea that there's one kind of specific founder of the organisation. We've got multiple founders. I mean,
So-
of the organisation.
So you started Rose, right? But then it's less of a single project that would be yours, quote unquote. And
Exactly.
More
Exactly. I mean,
huge collaboration.
you could
That's the idea.
you could trace my input down to the name, and it's a nice general name on which a lot of people, a lot of groups and other projects have linked into, and we're very privileged, and it's wonderful that's happened. But it's completely wrong to say, it's a lot of organisations that person founded it all. Well, I would say no, not at all. I mean, there's numerous founders have done various things. I mean, Jan and Bill founded Vietnam and doing a lot of work. So it's a sort of this whole founder thing is. I actually don't like it, to be honest with you. It sort of always annoys me when people say, we founded this, founded it. But because the thing is, the best projects grow organically. The need is there, and then somebody comes along and says, well, maybe I can do something about that. And that way works way better than sort of trying to plan it top down, saying, there's people down there who may need this, that, and the other thing, we'll plan a big program. So much better to start sort of boots on the ground, if you like. You see the program, you just start a little bit of input, and hey, that works, or that's not working so well, but this works. And those are the best projects that come from that. We're never concerned about doing vast projects. I mean, other groups do that. We haven't got the resources, we haven't got the infrastructure to do that, but we're very concerned of doing what we do with quality. We're doing it well, and really getting on and make sure we're helping people. We'd sooner just help a few people than to try and do a huge program that takes a huge infrastructure. It's a two-way process. And that's the other thing with Rose that and other groups do, and everyone actually, well, often people don't stop and think about it. Helping is a two-way process. You get as much back. You get as much in terms of fulfillment and sort of quality of life, your own life, as you do giving. It's a zero-sum procedure, and that's one of the tenets of the organisation, a sort of acknowledgement that is the case, really.
So Rose and the organisation, as it were, is what? I mean, is it a collaborative organization? Does it? But it. I mean, does it have a core group of people who sort of take the front of saying, okay, look, we're Rose and we uphold what the charity itself stands for, and then people come to us and say, look, I want to be part of your organization, I want to start this, and then you help? Is that structurally, how does that look?
That is pretty well exactly what happens. So the people who kind of tend to do more because they've got more time in their lives, they might be retired or they might have, their particular jobs might allow them to spend more time doing it. We like to have, the other thing we really like is the completely open door. It was one of my things perhaps I've been most depressed about in working in the kind of aid and development and NGO world over the years, is that so many organisations are completely closed door, and not even they do it on purpose. But time and again we have people who will say, look, you're doing something in Haiti, for example, can we help? We always say, well, yes, I'm sure you can help, there's some way of doing it. And they say, we've tried X, Y, Z, and they all say, oh no, you can't, you have this experience, that experience, we don't take people, etc. So, we really honestly try and sort of say yes as much as possible. Or if you can't perhaps go to the field and work specifically, we say, well, maybe you can help doing some of the administration at the other end, and etc., etc. And often, or more often than not, that's led to some sort of involvement with people with the organisation. And it's not just trying to be different. That's the way that's led to the feeling of kind of fulfillment and success and productivity and creativity of the program itself, just of the whole organisation. Just sort of saying, look, when someone comes kind of knocking or asked if they could do something, to say yes, I'm sure you can do something. We try to be as open as possible.
Are you continually growing then, in the sense of people are always joining?
Yes, that is happening. In fact, it's almost becoming a bit of a problem because, for example, we have a lot of organisations that say that we kind of link in with your network. And, and I was talking it happens at the other place as well. I talk with the Canadian because I know the Canadian side best because I live in Canada. And I mean, the answer is yes, your organisation can join in and you can get like tax benefits from, running through the organisation. But what you have to realise is that you must then become part of Rose, because for legal reasons, you can't just give a tax receipt and then send it off to some other organisation doing whatever. Your organisation, or where that money goes, becomes the responsibility of Rose itself and our board. These are all kind of details.
So what is becoming part of Rose? What does that mean?
Well, it means you become a member project of Rose Charities, and the things that you are doing on the field with your program become essentially Rose Charities initiatives. And so any funding which flows through, any donations, flows through Rose, and we can give a tax receipt for it, quite legally, but the project becomes Rose's responsibility. Now, I certainly reject the concept of, and I say this to people, we're not trying to put our name onto your project, that's not the thing at all. We really you need to make your own plans and design your own programs and do your own thing. But we have to, by law, monitor it, because essentially any government that gives a tax receipt, I don't know if we need all these details or want all these details, but any government that gives essentially is giving money to the organisation. It's saying, hey, we trust you to do good projects, but we're giving you money. By not taxing you, we're giving you money. So we're putting the taxpayer, in this case of Canada's, money into your organisation because we trust you to do good projects. So therefore, we have to make sure the projects are good and they're properly recorded, there's proper reporting back, receipts are kept, and I think we do actually overall quite a good job there. We have in Canada, we have donated one of our trustees there is an accountant to donate all his accountancy services completely gratis, free of charge to us, and does a very precise job in maintaining standards. And there are some things maybe we might be able to tweak a little bit better, but overall it works very well. But what's beginning to happen is that a lot of people are coming to us. We're having to sort of not quite turn people away yet, but make sure that they're aware of all the constraints of what we need.
So what else does it mean to be? I mean, outside of the sort of legal and tax logistics, as it were.
I know it all gets going.
Yeah, no, I mean they're all valid and important. What else does it mean to become part of Rose? I mean, is there a mission? Is there an essential core mandate? I mean, I assume there's lots of people who want to do charitable work, but to become part of Rose and for you to accept a group or an organization, an individual.
Yeah, they have to really fulfill the sort of programs we're interested in, which is very ground level. It's very person to person.